read a quote today that shocked me. It was about how the average UK family is not existing. So 2 parents working, when you take away the cost of their house or where they live, food, childcare and bills, they are more than £100 in debt every month. 2 parents working, so average 2 average wages coming into the family. Now that just is so heartbreaking that that's the current situation that we're in right now. And I haven't spoken that openly about our own financial situation. Obviously, it's very personal, but earlier this year, we were also struggling. We have a bigger mortgage, we had more outgoings, and we had to really tighten the belt buckle, and my husband's work dried up because he's a contractor and it's the state of his industry at the moment. Everyone is being extra cautious about extra resource. So we really felt the pinch. Now, I have said before that I cannot earn any more than I'm currently earning in my corporate career. So give or take £5,000 or £10,000, I have been on the same wage for around about 15, 20 years. Now, I think for a career and a person that has 2 degrees and 2 diplomas, that's insane. So obviously, if I want to move up the food chain, and don't get me wrong, I do not want my boss's job at all, or his life. I will need to do longer hours. I will need to do things that I don't particularly want to do. I will need to travel more. And essentially, I'll have way more responsibility. Now, that would be at the detriment and to the sacrifice of my health, both my physical and mental health, because I'm struggling now to find balance with my children and my job and my business and my husband. And it would also be at the sacrifice of my physical health and time with my children, time with my family, which is my number one priority. So health and family are my number one priorities. And where does the money come from? So this year, while I was studying, the reason why I started my business was for that reason. We didn't have the money sitting around for the business. That is why I begged, borrowed, still made it happen, found the money to start my business so that I could start generating more income into my household, into my family, to support my family. And I did a masterclass on this last night, and I really spoke deeply into it. We all did, the women, the corporate women on this masterclass, who are all in the same boat. They're all earning good money, a couple earning good money and still just surviving, not thriving, surviving financially, surviving in their life. And so, yeah, this masterclass, we spoke about how you can generate more income, how you can bring more money into the house, how you can do this alongside your corporate job, in the pockets of your time, 1 to 2 hours a day, maybe, on the weekend, if that's when you have some time, to be able to generate more income, to be able to ease up your financial situation, to be able to create more choice in your life. And then also, if you would like to replace that corporate income, to exceed that corporate income. And Sarah last night, my mentor, the reason why I jumped into this business is because she has now, in the past 18 months, not just replaced, she has surpassed her corporate income. I mean, mind blown. So that is the opportunity we have at our fingertips. That is the opportunity that we have with high ticket affiliate marketing. I now have the replay from last night. So if you are feeling the pinch, if any of this resonates with you, if you just don't have enough at the end of the month to make ends meet, if you are surviving, you literally are paying for everything, but there's nothing left over to enjoy your life. If you want to create a bigger vision for your life, you're sick of living paycheck to paycheck, living for the 9 to 5, all the things like I am, there is a beautiful big bunch of very smart, savvy, switched on, sophisticated, fiery, amazing women who are doing this. We are doing this together. So if you want to run alongside me, if you would like to create more choice in your life, if you do, because a lot of the comments on the posts that I read where this information came from, a lot of the mums were saying, we both work full time and we're just scraping by, and all I want to do is have more time with my child, do the school runs, pick him up from school. So if this is you, I'm speaking to you. If you would like to learn more about what I'm doing, what we're doing in our collective, how we are bringing more income into our family, how we are helping ease financial burden in our households and creating some incredible income with this opportunity, send me a message on Instagram. DM me on Instagram, you'll see my details there, or add me as a friend and send me a message on TikTok, replay. And I will send you the replay from last night's masterclass where we talk into all of this and about creating more choice in your life to create a life that you'll never want to have a holiday from, where you're earning incredible income and where you literally are thriving. Thanks, guys.
Morning, guys. I haven't done a video on the housing crisis for a while, but it's a subject that's close to my heart. Still, I think it's an unresolved issue and it's going to continue to get worse. So I thought, let's talk about this a little bit, and especially because I just caught up with some friends, and one of them, he really hit it home for me again that, this is an ongoing problem and it's not going to go away. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse. So his situation, right? I don't know what his salary is, but I imagine it's somewhere between 50 and 70k. So let's say it's right in the middle. So 60k, right? If I say to you, oh, he's on 60 grand, you might think, wow, that's pretty good. Yeah, he's on especially when you consider the average salary in London is probably like, 35k? I think that's about accurate. He's on double that. So you'd be getting connotations of like middle class living. I bet he goes skiing. I bet he drives a BMW. I bet he's got a couple of buy-to-let investments off in, Maidenhead or High Wycombe or something. But the reality is actually quite different. It's, he's on 60 grand a year. He's renting a one-bed flat. That's $1,250 a month. 1,250 quid a month, right, in London. Now you might say, well, he doesn't have to, he should house share. Well, he's knocking on 30. At what age are we expecting people to show autonomy and responsibility and gain some sort of independence? If you tell me, if I'm 30 and you say, live in a house, I don't want to live in a studenty house share and pick up after people and see they're washing up in it. I want some independence, right? So he's living in this $1,250 a month one bed flat. Then he's got bills on top. You've got council tax, 150, say. Then you've got energy bills. That's going to be 200 quid a month, probably come next April. Then you've got his Oyster card. He's got to get into the office one day a week. Then you've got this shit and that. Before we have done existing, he's up to like 2 grand, 2,200 probably a month. That is a chunk off of his salary gone. Now, he might have like 800 quid left over or £1,000 left over every month. And he could put that into an ISA, a property ISA or whatever. But to buy one of those flats that he lives in, a one-bed flat, is like £400,000. 400 grand! So for him to get on the ladder in that same shit that he's renting, he has to, if you cut it like by 4, then that's probably the deposit. So 100 grand, let's say it's a little bit less punishing than that, and it's actually 80 grand deposit that he would have to save. £80,000. He'd have to go through all like, put another 500 quid in the savings ISA. Okay, here's another 5. How long is it going to take him to save £80,000? You see why this is so that somebody on a pretty good salary in London stands almost no chance unless they go down some shitty Help to Buy route. It's so.
How much do you think that you would need in your area, wherever that is, to live a good middle class lifestyle? And by that, I guess we're talking about a few holidays a year, a decent house, nothing stupidly extravagant, but just to have a good standard of living where you can go out for dinner a few times a month, you can like buy yourself a few coffees without feeling awful and without it draining your bank account. How much do you need to earn nowadays in 2025? Because I feel like this number, whatever it is, just keeps on spiraling. And when I was growing up, earning £90,000, I mean, admittedly for one person rather than as a household income, but £90,000 was a lot of money. And now it does feel a little bit like that is not going to get you very far. And I am in London, so, our perspective down here is probably skewed. I mean, I know it is, but £90,000 should still be a reasonable amount of money, and it's just not anymore. So let me know.
So I'm not an economist or anything like that, but a thought that I just had this morning is, why don't we have a strong middle class in the UK anymore? And for me personally, I feel like a good economy relies on having a good middle class. And by middle class, I mean, you can afford a house, maybe you have one or two extra, like for rental income, you don't need to finance a car really, you don't need to finance a holiday, you have a lot of disposable income, right? But the wealth gap in the UK is widening literally every single day, to the point where you have such a small concentration of people that have such a large amount of wealth. And if those people then don't like your new tax regime and they want to leave the UK, they're taking all of that wealth that should have been spread out. They're now taking that and leaving. And to me, it's literally putting all of your eggs in one basket, right? And I think when the strong middle class is present, people have that disposable income that can then push into things like the high street, local businesses, small businesses. They have a lot more money to spend. They have a lot more money to feel relaxed. And I feel like that's just the major issue in the UK now. And I don't know if other people have different opinions, but for me personally, I feel like that's what the government should be focusing on, right? Like, I hear the whole corporations give jobs to loads of people, but again, those jobs are concentrated in pretty much London, Birmingham, Manchester, Cardiff, Edinburgh. Even those other, like Cardiff and Edinburgh, they don't really see as much as, even Birmingham and Manchester, they don't see as much as London. Everyone wants to be in London, makes London much more expensive, whereas in the past, you'll hear stories of people, there's a factory in somewhere like Derby or something like that, and the people there will have good lives, right? But we don't see that anymore. And personally, I feel like that's what the government should be focusing on. How do you build a strong middle class? How do you allow small businesses to grow? How do you give people more like disposable income, right? And maybe it's their plans, I don't know, right? But that's just my opinion. I feel like you need a strong middle class in order to have a really strong economy that's on a good foundation. But that's just my opinion.
I don't think we're ever going to go back to the way it was. What we're watching is the acceleration of the disappearance of the middle class. 30 years we've been saying that there's a disappearance of the middle class, that there are programs and social structure to take care of people who are poverty, housing programs, food programs, monthly cash assistance programs, phone programs. And I'm not disrespecting anybody, hopefully, by saying that, but there's just programs for people who are below poverty. And let's face it, if somebody's rich, they don't need help. They're doing just fine. As a matter of fact, money can create money. So the middle class, though, they're the ones that had the empty refrigerators. They were working crazy hours, trying to make ends meet, racking up the debt. And what we're watching right now is the accelerated disappearance of that middle class, where I think you're going to see either poverty people or wealthy people, and not a lot of in between.
Why are the middle class disappearing in the UK? We are working more, earning more, but somehow we're still falling behind. That's not by bad luck. That's by bad design. Bills have gone up, rent's gone up, wages have flatlined. Middle class isn't moving up. It's been squeezed out. BlackRock have announced that they're going to come in and they're going to invest in the UK housing market, and they're going to spend £10 billion buying up all the middle class houses. That means that people now going to buy a house are going to be unlikely that they're able to do it, because the deposit's going to be so high, which means that they're going to have to rent. And who do they rent from? They rent from the elite or the billionaires like BlackRock. Not middle class, you're middle trapped. Just look at all the direct debits we've got. We've got car payments, we've got mortgage payments, we've got Netflix, we've got gym memberships, we've got council tax, we've got electric, we've got Disney Plus, we've got Amazon Prime, we've got every single direct debit going imaginable. And by the way, people have 2 cars on the drive. We just have debt over debt over debt. And you look at the people in charge, they keep dangling growth like it's a carrot And you look at it and there's just no growth whatsoever. And basically, if you're not investing in assets and you just have savings, which if you have a majority of money in savings, or if you're even in a worse scenario and you've got debt, it's like, how do you get out of it? What we need is to invest in assets which go up in value over time. And also, to do this, it seems like we have to do it outside of our 9 to 5, because our 9 to 5 wages is just covering the bills. There's not a lot of money left over. So basic stuff, live below your means. Question if you actually need 2 cars. Do you need Netflix? Do you need the gym membership? Have you actually assessed your direct debits? And get rid of any unwanted spending. Saving £200 is easier than earning £200. And you'll probably be really surprised over how much you can actually save if you look into it. Now, if you look into it and you can't save any, then you're going to have to increase your working hours or get a different job. It's brutal, but it's the truth. Comment below if this is how you feel, or follow the page.
The middle class is dying. And here's why. There was a time when one salary could buy a home. It could raise a family. It could fund a comfortable retirement. But that life is gone. It is no more. House prices are through the roof. Interest rates are sky high. Food, fuel, energy, everything's more expensive. But your wages have barely moved. The average person today is earning less than they were in real terms than they were 20 years ago. But here's the part that no one talks about. This isn't an accident. The middle class was never built to last. It was a temporary illusion of security because the system is designed to divide you. You either own assets, property, investments, businesses, and you build wealth, or you own nothing and you work for wages and you slowly fall behind. And right now they're making sure you stay in that second group. Home ownership's, you're getting priced out. Cost of living is rising faster than pay is, and taxes are up, pensions are vanishing. And the middle class was built on an affordable ownership. Now, what is it? It's all renting. It's subscriptions. It's lifetime payments. They don't want you financially secure. They want you trapped, working, spending, paying taxes, repeating. Unless you break the cycle and start owning assets, you are not going to get ahead.
The reason that the UK is taking so many immigrants is not because they're trying to be good people or anything like that. And I can't believe that the bigoted people in the UK still don't understand why the UK is bringing in so many immigrants. Literally has to do with the UK trying to eliminate middle class. They literally just want to have rich people and poor people. They don't want to have a middle. And immigrants is exactly how they're going to do it, because they're going to bring in these people from third world countries that will accept very low salaries and work very long hours and will do the jobs that British people in the UK would never do. And because they're accepting these minuscule wages, they will be making the rich people so much money. Have you ever seen a rich British person ever complain about immigrants? They would never complain about it because they know at the end of the day it's going to benefit them.
So this is M&S today. So we've got loads of bread, ready meals. Oh, just get my light on for you. This is what's in there today. All these ready meals, all this food.
So it's 12 to 14.
Look at that.
£30 wrapped in bacon.
26.
Look at that, 75 quid.
75 quid. And then there's all this, our best lasagna. All these.
It's just, it's full to the top.
It is full today. And then there's all this. And then there's all these baskets full of turkeys and full of bread sauce and full of probably bits of coffee in there, and then
loads of sandwiches
and stuff. But that is how much waste they've got this week. It's crazy.
Right guys, so I need your help. After my amazing income of £7.61 last night from my ASMR live, I thought I'd go shopping to my local supermarket with my daughter, pick up a few bits and pieces. You know, we buy food as we need it. A big shop is quite not affordable anymore. And I mean, what's going on? I thought there was some kind of cost of living crisis in the UK. There's no food. barely any food in the shop. The pizza section, maybe 3 or 4 different options. Barely anything on this side of the fridge, which is like the cold meats and things. Hardly any choice of coffee. Plenty of fresh fruit and veg though. And then we moved over to the frozen section. Frozen chips at least, maybe, you know, with some chicken nuggets for dinner. Nothing there. Barely any bread. No toilet paper. No kitchen towels. Barely any drinks. Like, is something going on? Like, do I need to start stockpiling food? Where's all this food going? What's going on? I mean, tell me, you know. I feel like I'm being left in the dark here.
As we all know, MPs take a salary home of around £84,144, and that's without expenses. The average family on the poverty line lives on about £10 a day or less. Obviously, you times that by 365 and you've got 3,650 quid a year to eat for a family. There are 650 MPs currently in Parliament, each one of them with that £84,144 salary. That's a collective total of £54,693,600 per year. If they decided to just take 30 grand of that a year to live on, which they can because they get their rent and stuff paid for, there would be £35,693,600 spare. That's £97,790.68 per day.
More than 50% of the UK population are worried about being able to pay for food due to the cost of living crisis. Check this out. According to a recent study conducted by think tank, more than 50% of the UK population are worried about being able to pay for food, and 44% of people are worried about being able to pay for rent or their mortgage. But the most shocking stat is that 57% of people aged 35 to 59 were worried about being able to pay for food. And pensioners aged 65 or over were 45% more likely to be worried about food. How are we living in 2025 in the UK where people are worrying about being able to pay for food and feed their families? In my opinion, this is absolutely outrageous. Another alarming fact is that 74% of people in the UK believe that the UK government aren't doing enough to combat people struggling due to the cost of living crisis. It's safe to say that every time you go into a Tesco, Sainsbury's, Morrison's or Asda, the food prices are skyrocketing and they're getting more and more expensive. A lot of people are struggling in the UK, so if you know someone struggling, please make sure to help them out if you can. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Have you struggled for food in the recent years, and what do you think about the UK government not doing enough for the UK population due to the cost of living crisis? Let me know what you think.
Here in London, 7:30 in the morning, and this is the state of the country. Look at this. Read that. Read that. Look at this. This is how people are living on the streets in London, man. It's just so bad. Look. Look at it. Look at that, man. Street of London. I'm gonna leave them a little something. A little something, man. So hey. State of London.
Cost of the UK living crisis is mental.
Look at the mini rolls. £3.95 for 10. They look jam tarts, Mr. Kipling. 6. £3. Oh my God. Look at Mr. Kipling chocolate food. £3.95. They used to be bloody £1.50. God, this world is crazy.
Sainsbury's is supposed to be one of the cheapest supermarkets now out of the lot of them, even Lidl and Aldi. So let's get in here and see what the crack is. Where'd you get your car from, mate? Get yourself a basket so you don't get suspected of lifting. Be a good start if the door opened. So obviously don't want my customer in here. Well, it's cheaper to get a sausage roll at Greggs, so we just confirmed that. Who in the right mind's paying 45p for them tomatoes when you can get snide tomatoes for 39p a massive tin? You mad? Holy Mary, Mother of God, who the would pay £7 for organic tea, some purple dead nose piercing just stop oil. Right, so it's £7.10 for coffee. Great, and it's a small one. Whoa, check this, roller cola. Roller cola. That will be angry. £7.25 for your Jesus juice. You know, you stick to Aldi, you can get the German Jesus juice for £3.50. Off. Piss war.
We all knew it was coming, but we didn't expect it to be this much. Ofgem have just announced that the energy price cap will be rising by 6.4% on the 1st of April, which is more than experts predicted. This is just taking the piss now. The UK have had to pay the most amount for their energy in the whole of Europe for years now. This 6.4% rise comes following a 1% rise in January and a 10% rise last October. We are getting absolutely fleeced for our energy. And clearly, it is never going to end. The most scary thing is, though, there is no suggestion, mention, or any information that the government are exploring taking any steps to help the most vulnerable and the elderly, who will be impacted by this the most. We already know that people freeze to death on a yearly basis in the UK because they can't afford to heat their homes. And the fact that there's going to be no further help for these people is absolutely disgusting. This is just the start though, isn't it? From the 1st of April, we're going to have price increases on everything. Inflation is going to skyrocket again. And as always, the hard-working people in the UK are going to feel it the most. Jesus Christ. Let me know what you think of this in the comments.
Does anyone want to get on the blower to British Gas and tell them that April Fool's Day is finished? When I got an email about switching tariffs because it's that time of year again, did I then discover they'd whacked a £4,500 charge on my bill in December? £4,800. What the actual hell? But the laugh of it is you can't even get to speak to someone that knows what they're talking about. First of all, the first answer I got was we need to take 2 readings, one now, one 7 days from now, and adjust your bill accordingly because there's been a switchover in energy tariffs, I don't know. The second message that I had was, we've undercharged you. So apparently from April to December last year, bearing in mind most of these are summer months, I racked up a bill of £4,500 in gas bills when the only gas that we use is heating. We have an electric hob. The third answer I got was, we think your meter might be reading backwards. We need to send an engineer out, but unfortunately we haven't got any engineers to send out. What is going on? And the laugh of it is, on the bills that they send you, we will adjust your direct debits accordingly if we think you're not paying enough. Bab, you whacked this charge on me back in December and now I'm only just finding out about it. What is going on? Who's got £4,800 in their bank account to whack on a bill? There's no way on God's green earth that we have racked up that amount of money from April to December in heating. What is going on?